Hello everybody and welcome back to Quran Book Club. I just finished, I believe there's an actual Arabic word and I honestly just forgot it. But instead of saying chapters or books like I've been saying, I believe it's let me look, hold on. Surah. I just finished the 7th Surah, Al-Araf, the heights. I don't have a whole lot to talk about, but the things I want to talk about, I want to talk about. I was a little bit loaded, but it was also a little bit empty. Also, disregard what I said about listening to music while I read the Quran. From now on, I will just be listening to Arabic recitations because that did the same thing that it needed to do for my brain. One, sounded beautiful. I listened to, someone commented a good one, and I'm going to shout it out. Let me look what the name was. Mishari Al-Afasi. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but I listened to the recitation of the surah that I was just reading, which was 7, Al-Araf, the heights. And I loved it. I thought it was very melodic. I loved listening to it, honestly. Like I said, obviously I didn't really understand what he was saying. And I was reading ahead of what he was reciting, but I did love it. So thank you to everyone who said that. And I do feel like that's probably a more respectful way to, a more respectful thing to listen to while reading it. Because people said music is haram. So I'm going to try my best to follow that. I don't know if I'm gonna try my best to follow that, and I'm gonna try and just listen to the recitations for each surah. Now to the talking part. Okay, in this video, because I already talked about random stuff, I'm just gonna talk about little verses that I wanted to mention, and then I'll make separate videos for bigger concepts I want to talk about. So this chapter did talk a lot about the children of Israel and the Pharaoh story, which is the first time I've actually read the Pharaoh story. I've heard of it a little bit. And I have a little bit more to share, but I'm making a separate video about the Pharaoh story. But this came after the Pharaoh story, but this was interesting to me. They're talking about the Sabbath breakers, and I know what the Sabbath is. It says that the footnote says that the people of Isla, an ancient town by the Red Sea, were forbidden to catch fish on the Sabbath. However, on Saturdays, fish were everywhere, whereas on weekdays, no fish were to be seen. Now, if I think about the year 600, or honestly, this probably came way before the year 600, I'm like, okay, well, I'm sure food was hard to come across, so I understand why you would be like, I want to go crazy fishing on Saturday, because that's where all the fish are and we need to eat, but also, God is testing you for God is testing you, that's been the whole point of, I'm assuming all of the books, Torah, Bible, and Quran, God is testing you. So, if you believe that God is testing you, clearly this is a test, right? It goes on to say, to get around the prohibition, some decided to lay their nets on Fridays and collect the fish caught in their nets on Sundays. So, you're trying to trick God, is what I'm hearing. You're trying to put the nets down on Friday, go all Saturday without checking nets, and then Sunday you pull up the nets, but you know the fish will be there on Saturday. You're trying to trick God, and honestly, God is all-knowing. Do not sin in the open or in the dark. So, why are you trying to trick God and think you're going to get away with it? On Judgment Day, He's coming for you. How you cannot trick God. I'm not trying to trick God. Listen, I have my own relationship with God, and that is between me and Him. But you can't be tricking God. I ain't never tried to act like I didn't do something. Or that I'm trying. You can't loophole the scripture. You cannot loophole the scripture. So that was crazy to me. And I believe these were the same people who said to send down an angel. If I'm not mistaken, they were also the same people that said to build the staircase. Believe or don't. That's all I gotta say. Another one I wanted to just randomly talk about. Chapter 7, verse 40. This is the camel eye of the needle. It says, surely those who receive our revelations with denial and arrogance, the gates of heaven will not be opened for them, nor will they enter paradise until a camel passes through the eye of a needle. This is how we reward the wicked. There is a scripture in the Christian faith that is something along the lines of it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the gates of heaven. And this sounds pretty similar, other than it's talking about not deniers versus rich people. I want to know if there is a correlation between those two verses, if they're kind of similar. This is also the same surah where they're referencing the Pharaoh story, so I'm wondering, like, I haven't read the Bible, so I don't know. If anyone's read the Bible, let me know, too. But are those either related at all? Is there something about a rich man in the Quran as well, or is that different? Very curious to hear if maybe it's just a different interpretation that the Christians had. I'm very curious. Last round and one this one just resonated with me, and this is how I feel like I have been living my life, because I don't really consider myself to be like necessarily like a godly person. I like to educate myself on all gods, and I've gone to the Hindu temples and I've prayed to Krishna. I have gone to synagogues and I've prayed. I've gone to church and I've prayed. I've never been to a mosque. Actually, surprisingly, I've never been to a mosque, and at this point now I want to go. If somebody wants to go to the mosque with me, let me know, because I've only ever gone to places of worship with a friend who has invited me, because I don't know any of the customs. Like, I don't want to walk in there and be disrespectful or not know what to do. But this doesn't really follow, like, godly... I do follow godly teachings. Like, I do apply the concepts, but I'm not really, like... I'm not, like, a woman of God. Like, I'm not really up here, like, repping... Well, I guess I am now. I don't know. Anyway, this one resonated with me because this is how I like to live my life. Sorry, people told me not to tap the Quran. This is how I live my life, and it resonated with me. It says, this is 7, verse 199. Be gracious, enjoin what is right, and turn away from those who act ignorantly. That's it. Very simple. That's how I like to live my life. Be gracious. Do as much good as you can. Be as helpful to other people as you can. Give people grace, and just kind of be a light for the people around you. Enjoin what is right. Like I said, I don't follow any specific religion, but I do listen to the practices and the teachings, and I do apply them to my life. So, like, I feel like doing what is right, I help the needy. I've been doing that my whole life, and I will continue to do that. Just in general, just enjoying what is right. Like, I feel like I try to live my life bestly like that, and I feel like I do live like I personally, even though I don't pray and I don't follow the teachings of any specific book, I like to think that I live a life that God would approve of. Now, everyone can have their own opinions. Like I said, I am transgender, and I know and I'm not just Muslims, a lot of religions don't rock with that. However, in my personal heart of hearts, I do feel like God and I feel like He would approve of the life that I try to live. And maybe I need to make some adjustments. I think everyone can. I definitely think I need to give up some worldly desires after reading this and the Gita. And the third one is, turn away from those who act ignorantly. Duh! I cannot stand ignorance. I have no time for it. Like I said in one of the verses from the last chapter, I will be getting up and walking away if I'm sitting with people who are talking ill of Islam. And I just think that ignorance in general is not bliss. It's the complete opposite. So those are just random ones I really aligned with, and then I have some more to action. Okay, so this chapter, welcome back to Quran Book Club, Surah 7, The Heights, Al-Araf. I want to talk about Eve, Adam, this forbidden apple, and nakedness. I'm a little bit confused, not gonna lie. I would like a clarification. I have read the story of Adam and Eve in Genesis from the Bible. This was my first time reading it in the Quran, and I have a clarifying question. I feel like I understand most of it, but I have a clarifying question. And this is kind of a weird technical question. So it says that, from my understanding, Adam and Eve were naked in the Garden of Eden, and they did not have any mind of, like, knowledge of sin. They didn't know that being naked, I guess, was a sin. I think I just answered it myself. They didn't know that being naked was, like, a sin, or that there was anything wrong with being naked. And then when they ate the apple, or when they ate from the tree, or some people argue it wasn't an apple, I don't know. When they ate from the tree and sinned, and they realized that being naked was a sin, they decided to cover themselves. And then in this Quran, the Quran mentions something about the pagans circling the Mecca naked. And it's talked about how that's not acceptable, and how, like, you should dress modestly. It touches on, I think, the dress modestly. Honestly, I'm a little bit confused about this part. My question is being naked a sin? Like, I'm confused why it would... I guess that they ate... I guess this is post-apple. So I guess we have knowledge of the sin and we should choose our best to not sin. But if Eve and Adam were tempted by the snake, which then led to them covering their bodies, if they didn't eat the apple, they wouldn't have covered their bodies, and they would remain in the way that God created them. So I'm just curious, like, what is sinful about the pagans being naked circling the Mecca? Because to me that sounds crazy. Circling the Mecca naked, to me that does sound crazy. But when I think about the line of the course of the domino effect of events, I'm a little bit confused and I would like some clarification. I don't know.